Raven Queen, and I'm going to write my own destiny. My happily ever after starts now.
Hi, it's good to see you again, and if you're new here, it's nice to meet you. My name is Adriana, and I make bookish content for your bookish needs. So we already know I'm crazy enough to read the entire Monster High series, right? If you don't know, in probably the second video I've ever posted, I did a complete review on the entire Monster High series made by Lissy Harrison. It was quite fun. It was definitely interesting. I was not expecting a lot of what I read. So if you want to check out that video where I deep dive into an analysis of a book written in like 2012, you can check that out right up there. So of course, I loved Monster High as a kid, but I started to think about what else I loved as a kid. And then I remembered Ever After High. If you know where this is going, then you're correct. Yeah, I read the entire Ever After High series. If Ever After High sounds familiar to you, it should. It's by the same people that made Monster High, Mattel. I loved Ever After High. I think I can say I liked it a lot more than Monster High, because while as a child I liked Monster High aesthetically, obviously, look at me, an aspiring mall goth as a child, loved Monster High, loved the designs, loved like the aesthetic of the whole thing, like the dark but cute, the creepy, freaky, fabulous. I absolutely ate that up as a kid. But I do have to admit that as a kid, and honestly now, I prefer Ever After High a lot more. And not only just with the character designs, because I think some of the character designs of the kids who go to Ever After High is kind of genius. Also just the message behind Ever After High. I think it's a lot more impactful than Monster High. I think it teaches you a lot more, and let's be honest, the web episodes of Ever After High were so fun. So of course, I found out that Ever After High has a book series. The book series is written by Shannon Hale. So I'm going to be talking to you today about these 3 books. I read all of them. Gonna tell you how I think of it, gonna tell you how well it contributes to the franchise as a whole. Before I get started with that, let me introduce you to Ever After High if you don't know anything about it. Ever After High was supposed to be a follow-up to Monster High, and its target demographic was supposed to be the people that didn't like Monster High. They thought making a franchise with similar web episodes, similar dolls, but a whole different feel would attract the people that didn't really like the freakiness of Monster High. So Mattel did just that. In 2013, Ever After High launched. The whole premise of Ever After High is kind of the same premise of Monster High. You have these kids who are the children of fairy tale characters. So of course, in Ever After High, you have the very famous ones. You have Apple White, the daughter of Snow White, you have Raven Queen, the daughter of the Evil Queen, and the list goes on. My favorite Ever After High character is Madeline Hatter, the daughter of the Mad Hatter. I love her so much, and I'm so happy she got her own book, because she deserves it. She's a queen. Ever After High was very popular. I think in terms of dolls, Monster High was more popular, but I feel like in terms of the web episodes and the movies that they put out, if you remember, there were Ever After High movies on Netflix. I think some were exclusively on Netflix, and they were so good. So in that category, Ever After High definitely reigned supreme with their storytelling, with their plot, with just the whole adventure of the whole thing. It definitely flowed a lot better than Monster High, and it had real substance to it. Unlike Monster High, Ever After High, I think, had real substance to it. The web episodes, not only were they fun and light and very colorful and beautiful, they also had real, genuine messages and emotions behind it. A big thing with Ever After High is choice. That's its motif. Choosing your own destiny, that you can choose the path you want to go on in life and nobody can tell you otherwise. But with that, Ever After High also introduced aspects of choosing your own destiny, like some people aren't gonna want you to. Some people don't want to choose a different destiny because the one they have is already perfect and they don't have to change it. It introduced a lot of different aspects and a lot of different perspectives for just that singular motif of follow your dreams. I thought it was really well done. And of course, as a kid, I loved the movies. I really enjoyed the plots of the movies. And as a child, I could really appreciate how well done they were. I had a lot of fun, but not only that, I loved the development of the characters. As a kid, I could really appreciate the things that these characters went through and how they grow and how they changed. Even in the web episodes, you could see genuine character development for a lot of them, and I feel like that was really lacking with Monster High. So enough me rambling about its history, let's get into the books themselves. We start off with the first book, the Storybook of Legends. Of course, we are introduced to our new two main characters, Raven Queen and Applewhite. Applewhite is the perfect daughter of Snow White, and she loves
I know how you can make it up to me.
She knows she's going to get poisoned, fall into a coma, and then get saved by a prince and lived happily ever after. That's it. That's all she has to do. She doesn't have to work any harder than that. She already knows everything's set in stone for her, and she's gonna have a great, amazing life just like her mother and father did. Raven, on the other hand, knows that it's not gonna be as simple and as joyful for her. Of course, with her mother being Raven Queen, she's gonna have to accept that, yeah, it's gonna be probably fun poisoning Applewhite, but she's gonna get captured at the end of the day, and that's her ending. That's the ending to her story. She's gonna be labeled as evil, and she gets defeated. See very quickly that Raven Queen doesn't want to be evil. That's her whole thing. She's a sweet girl. She likes her friends. She likes the same things like Apple does. She doesn't want to take evil classes. She doesn't want to be seen as evil, and she's so sick and tired of her peers seeing her as evil because she's nothing like her mother. The entire book follows up to Legacy Day. Legacy Day in the series is where sophomores of Ever After High seal in their fate. On Legacy Day, they sign the Storybook of Legends and promise that they will carry out their fairy tale just like their parents did before them. The whole big thing in this book is that Raven does not want to sign the book. She does not want to pledge to be her mother. She doesn't want to be her mother. She knows exactly what's going to happen to her in her story, and she is not thrilled for it. Apple, on the other hand, needs her to sign that book, because if she doesn't sign that book, Apple does not get to live happily ever after. These two, of course, are at a constant conflict of, I want to follow my own destiny, and then, no, do exactly as you're told. You're selfish. I'll talk more about Applewhite because, oh my god, she makes me angry. I thought that was just what this book was gonna be about, like stuff we've already seen in the web episodes. Raven doesn't want to sign, Apple needs her to sign, and there's growing tension between people in Ever After High that don't want to sign versus the people that do want to sign and want their happily ever after. Instead, this book kind of takes a different direction. It kind of gives more story and more life to that plot line. We follow Apple and Raven teaming up to see what happened to one girl that didn't sign the Storybook of Legends. It's said that if you don't sign the Storybook of Legends, you disappear. You and your story disappear and you're never heard from again. Raven has hope that one girl that didn't sign, maybe she didn't disappear. Maybe there are still aspects of her. Maybe she escaped and left without conforming to her destiny. So these two throughout the book try to find remnants, evidence that this girl did not actually disappear. And of course, if you know anything about the franchise, the Storybook of Legends is a scam. You don't have to sign it. If you don't sign it, you don't die. Your story stays fine and you can do whatever you want. Milton Grimm just likes having students sign so they can conform to their destiny, to the story of their parents, and he can have everything in order from generation to generation. And of course, by the end of the book, regardless of the evidence that they found, Raven does not sign the Storybook of Legends, and voila, obviously she does not disappear. You get to see Apple's reaction in writing, and if you watch the web episodes, Apple's reaction to her not signing is drastic, dire. She is in tears the whole time. She's absolutely heartbroken. She thinks that because Raven did not sign, she's not gonna get her happily ever after, and it's all Raven's fault because how dare she be so selfish. Like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about Apple, but I really liked how she went to such great lengths in this book to ensure that Raven signed. At the end of the day, she also wanted to be her friend. She knew that their destiny pitted them against each other, but she wanted to be friends with her with the little time they did have, you know, before they have to graduate and live out the story. All in all, I really thought this book was a good introduction. It was stuff I already knew, obviously, from the series. Characters I already knew, plot points I already knew, but I thought it was really interesting, Raven doing that whole investigation storyline where she tries to find that one girl who didn't sign and who went missing. I liked that. Obviously, it gave a lot more substance to the book. I liked that. It wasn't just like a retelling of what we've already seen. Next, we have the second book, The Unfairest of Them All. I loved this book. This book, I think, to me was a huge improvement from the first one. Not only was it something new, it just felt right. It really did justice to a lot of the characters. It really did justice to Apple, especially if you don't like her. She really goes through it in this book, and she does grow as a character. And while she's still not happy that Raven didn't sign, she starts to understand a little bit, and she starts to realize that she can't be like her mother, and she can't be the perfect ruler that people want her to be. We see a different side of Apple, and we see more parts of her personality besides just, you know, being perfect and being Snow White's daughter. The whole thing in this book is that it follows the aftermath of Legacy Day, and now Ever After High is basically having a civil war. We have the rebels who agree with Raven that they don't have to sign the book, and that they can live whatever destiny they want. And then we have the royals, who of course want to sign the book because they have perfect lives, perfect destinies, and they don't have to worry about, you know, being locked away forever. So they have it good. So they want what they were already going to be given. The whole thing happens with Maddie, and Maddie essentially in this book is going to be banished because the headmasters and the administration think she purposely set out the Jabberwocky, the Wonderlandian monster, into Ever After High out of spite. And Apple and Raven are forced to team up, figure out the truth, show the headmaster the truth, and save Maddie. I really love the friendship of Maddie and Raven. I really think Maddie keeps her grounded just through her craziness and through her love and respect for Raven. I always enjoyed it in the episodes, and I really enjoyed reading it here, just how much Raven loves her and really appreciates her for staying by her side all these years. We also get to see Raven and Apple work together after Legacy Day. I know they worked together in the first book, but that was, you know, pre-Raven not signing and pissing off Apple. And they got along well. They put their differences aside to save Maddie, which at that point was the most important thing, and they really obviously did it in the end. They saved Maddie from banishment, and it really introduced each other to different sides of them, and that even though they are supposed to have this destiny, this legacy of hating each other, they don't, and they probably never will. They work really well together as friends, and they can appreciate the different sides of each other. I like what they did with Apple in this book. She was a lot more bearable for a lot of reasons. She was a little more understanding, and I'll talk about my feelings about Applewhite after my reviews. So this book, it was so good. The characterization was on point. Raven and Apple working together, the little like plot lines and like things they had to do to gather the spell to help Maddie, and of course Raven talking to her mom. She has a real heart-to-heart with her mom, and Raven tells her that she doesn't want to be like her, and she never wanted to be like her. She's not evil like her mother is. And it was a really interesting conversation, and I think it was really important for the series because, of course, Raven's mother doesn't like that her daughter is not evil, but at the same time, that's her daughter, and she has to respect the decision, and she is very proud of her daughter for sticking up for herself and knowing what's right. And she promises that if Raven ever wants to be evil, she can, and she can always come to her mother. Everything was on point. Fun read. Just all the characters in it, and all the characters, Rebel and Royal, finally coming together and being friends, getting along, and putting their differences aside. And then we have the third book. Unfortunately, the third book suffers from the last book phenomenon I like to call, where the last book in a trilogy or in a series just sucks. And of course, we've seen it with Monster High. If you remember me talking about how disappointed I was in the fourth Monster High book. I'm not so much as disappointed in this book, more as I was not expecting what happened in this book. The whole premise of this book is that because the Jabberwocky escaped from the last book, Wonderland magic and Wonderland like craziness seeps into Ever After High. The students get cursed. The only people not affected are people from Wonderland. So Madeline Hatter, Lizzie Hart, and Kitty Cheshire, as well as Cedar Wood, who, if you know, is the daughter of Pinocchio. In this book, she turns into a real human. That's how the Wonderlandian magic affects her. It was really interesting to read about her. I never really was a fan of Cedarwood, maybe because she wasn't really developed well in the episode, but it was really cool seeing her reaction to being a human girl, to being able to touch things and to taste things and to bleed and to have a heartbeat. So her reaction to that, to being a girl, at least for a little while, was pretty cool. The thing about this book is that it was insane. It was insane. It was crazy, but rightfully so. It has the whole Wonderland theme. So in terms of Wonderland madness, it was pretty mad. The whole thing with this book series is that Madeline can talk to the narrator. If you remember from the episodes, she does it a lot, where the narrators, in the episodes, it's two narrators. In the episodes, she hears the narrators talking and she'll butt into their conversation and make her own talking points. Same thing applies for this book, where she hears the narrator talk, she makes little points, she kind of breaks the fourth wall a lot. And in this book, something happens to the narrator where the narrator is affected by Wonderlandian magic and kind of goes insane, and Maddie has to take over and narrate the story as well as being in the story. I thought that was kind of cool. Made me a little crazy at some parts, just because she would speak out loud and then the characters were like, why did you just say that? And she was like, oh, I'm kind of getting used to being a narrator. So kind of killed me a little bit, but it was funny. It was cute. I thought it was a really cute detail to add. In terms of plot, there isn't one. There is not a plot. It's basically ever after kids are infected, the four girls need to slay the Jabberwocky. They do, and everything's fine. Through this book, we follow Lizzie Hart a lot, and Lizzie trying to live up to her mother and trying to be as cruel and as, you know, crazy as the Red Queen is. I wasn't expecting Raven and Apple to not be in this book, so I was kind of thrown for a loop, but it was enjoyable. I didn't hate it. I just was not ready. And like I said, it was kind of insane, but it still, at the end of the day, it was a good closer to the series. Just kind of a fun, lighthearted, mindless read. And I think it closed out this particular book series well. All in all, I really liked this book series. I liked it a lot more than Monster High. As you can see, I kind of went through them quick because they were quick. It was not like Monster High where just convoluted plot point after convoluted plot point was pushed into the story. We didn't have any of that. Very linear, very straightforward, a lot of fun elements added, but at the end of the day, it was a very easy story to follow, a really good middle grade book. I think the problem with the Monster High series is it didn't feel like Monster High. It didn't really kind of mesh itself well with the episodes. It didn't really mesh itself well with the movies, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly like them, but I just didn't get the Monster High feel, you know what I mean? From watching those movies or looking at the dolls, I didn't feel any of that. It just kind of felt boring, and just the same things were thrown in my face over and over again, i.e. Cleo and Claudine. Monster High was kind of gritty to read, but this Ever After High book series, it was so fun. I really liked it. Even with the book that I didn't like as much, it was still a really good read. And like I said, I think it's because it really stayed true to its source material. Everything was in place. It didn't really introduce anything new besides the new plot points added for the book. Nothing was thrown from left field. I didn't have to gargle my brain with new characters like I had to do in Monster High. No. Same premise, same characters. They were just following a new storyline, a new plot line, as if this was like one of the movies. Everyone felt like who they were. Everyone felt true to themselves. I didn't read it and think, oh, Apple would never do that, which I found myself doing many times while reading Monster High. Another thing with this book is that the characterizations were very, very on point. Just the development, the emotional turmoil these characters go through, especially Raven and Apple. With Raven, we get to see how she really does not want to be evil. Like, it's tearing her apart inside. The thought of being like her mother. There are a lot of points in the first book where she just cries because she doesn't want this for herself. She doesn't want her friends to hate her because they think she's evil. And with Apple, oh God, with Applewhite, how do I begin? It took me a long time to realize, rewatching the episodes, reading the book series, watching the movies, that I'm not supposed to agree or like Apple. And I don't mean in terms of her personality. Her personality is very cute if you watch the episodes, if you read the book. She's very cute. I really do like how quirky and how great of a friend she is. She's really great in that regard. I mean in terms of her viewpoint on choosing your destiny. You're not supposed to agree with her. Apple is given everything, and she is going to get everything she's ever wanted with her destiny. She does not have to work hard for it at all. She does not have to stray from her story to be happy. And a whole thing with Apple is that when Raven doesn't sign and when other people don't want to sign, she is visibly upset. She calls them selfish and she berates them for not following the story, for wanting to choose their own storyline. And of course, as a kid, I hated her. I absolutely hated Applewhite. Least favorite character. I would go on rants in recess about how much I do not like Applewhite because I did not like her. Like, how dare she? How dare she force Raven to sign the book? How dare she hate rebels? How dare she not understand where they're coming from? And I am embarrassed to say it took me a long time that she's not supposed to understand. She's not going to understand. And I'm not supposed to like her viewpoint on it. Apple, like I said, was raised from privilege. She is a princess. When she signs the Storybook of Legends, she will have everything handed to her. And ever after that is happy, filled with love, filled with royal subjects who adore her, and all she has to do is eat a poison apple. That's it. So of course, when she sees other people not signing, she thinks that is threatened. She thinks that perfect ending is threatened, that she's not gonna have that because they're not gonna have their destiny. And I think she is a really important character to play off Raven's aspects and to play off Raven's fears of not wanting to be evil. Raven constantly has someone in the back of your ear telling her, you gotta be evil, you gotta be evil, we gotta do this, we gotta conform to our story, girl, you have to be evil, I need to eat this apple, and we need to play out our part. And it took me so long to realize that it's not Apple doing it out of spite. It's not like she hates Raven, hates the rebels. She doesn't know any better. Of course she doesn't know any better. I really liked her progression through these books, so if you don't watch the episodes, if you haven't seen any of the movies, and you start off hating Apple in the first book like I did, you really understand what she's going through the second, that all her life people have told her that she's gonna have this perfect destiny. She's gonna be a perfect, amazing ruler. And when something, even something minuscule, threatens that, she gets upset. She panics. She doesn't know what to do. It took me a lot of years to appreciate Applewhite, but now I finally do. I have a newfound appreciation for her. I'm sorry, Applewhite, that I hated you as a kid. You have to understand where I was coming from. Just rewatching the episodes, the movies, reading these books shows me how much I loved Ever After High and why. I have always really enjoyed the Ever After High message, and now as an adult, I can truly appreciate just the idea of, hey, when you grow up, people are gonna have a set destiny for you. They're going to have expectations for you that you have to live your life a certain way, and it's up to you and you alone to know that you do not have to meet those expectations if you don't want to, and as long as you're happy with where you are in life, that's all that matters. This series is so amazing, and it was so amazing, down to the dolls, down to the episodes, down to this book series. It was amazing. And that was my review, my chat about the Ever After High books. I hoped you enjoyed, and I hope you are now inspired to rewatch Ever After High, to go read these books especially, and to just indulge yourself in the nice fairy tale goodness that is this series. If you like me, if you liked this video, subscribe, leave a like on this. It really helps me out a lot, and it really does help support my channel. And with that, that's all the time I have for today. I thank you so much for sitting here and watching me talk about a book series that was written for a 2013 franchise. My name is Adriana, and I thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, a great life, a great time, and I will see you in the next video.